going to talk about trauma bonding. Trauma bonding is something that I was not aware of until probably 2021. My first husband I was married to, I was trauma bonded to. The first, my first husband, he was not a monster in the beginning, per se. He was very charmastic. He was kind. He kind of put on this act or performance for me for quite a while, actually. And I thought that what I was getting into was love. And turns out that it actually was not love. It was being involved with somebody that was abusive, but also had a narcissistic personality disorder. With him in particular, I gave him everything. I worked my butt off to provide for us, to make sure we had this big, beautiful house and we had cars and money. And like, we had a pretty good life behind closed doors. It was not great. There was a whole lot of fighting. There was a whole lot of yelling. There was a whole lot of like just drama, drama galore being married to him. And probably about 3 years into this relationship with him, because like I said, it wasn't something that just started immediately. Being 3 years in was when I realized, oh my gosh, like I really am in a bad situation. Like it's just not happening occasionally. It is happening a whole lot, way more than it ever should, because nothing that is harming you in any way is healthy. And especially not when the harm, like nothing that's harming you is healthy. But when it's somebody that says that they love you and they are trying to suffocate you with pillows or biting your hair off or smacking your head with a jewelry box or pushing you down a flight of stairs or busting you in your nose with a phone, like that's definitely not healthy. And those were the little things that actually happened. The thing about trauma bonds that a lot of people don't know about is they actually are built kind of in this survival mode. It's never about love. It's actually about when a trauma bond is created between two people, it's about control and power. And it's never about like real authentic love. It's really just about this control and power the other person has on you. And when you have this trauma bond with another person, your body actually craves this chaos between you and this other person. Now, eventually, this chaos that happens, it feels safe for you. It's weird. It's something that I have a hard time explaining, because if you grew up in like this hostile environment or a chaotic environment, maybe you could understand, but it feels like a home, it feels like a safe place to you, even though consciously you may know that this is not right. This is wrong. Like all this is wrong. It doesn't make any sense. But for you, because of your environment growing up and because of the way this relationship feels, you're addicted to it. For a lot of women that get involved in these trauma bond situations with a partner that's abusing them, we learn a lot of survival tricks and we learn how to cope with them, and we make a lot of excuses for those people that have abused us or that were trauma bond true. Or we will say things like, well, it's not their fault because I did this, or we'll blame ourselves for their behavior, and we will cover up things that they do. One incident that I can remember in particular was he threw a one of those toy car things, like it was like a big toy car. He threw it at my back glass in my car and shattered all my back glass. And then he took his fist and busted my front car window, like the driver's side window, to get me to grab me out. And I made excuses for that. I actually lied for him. I said, oh, no, well, a rock hit it, or like it was my fault because of this. Like I made tons of excuses for his behavior. And partly that's out of fear, but also that was a way to protect him, because I felt like I had to protect him because we were in this fucking dramatic trauma situation. It took me a really long time after I got out of the situation back in 2021, and I didn't really understand exactly how trauma bonds worked. Coming out of the situation and trying to heal from that was very hard, because when I left, I went no contact. And it was very difficult to go no contact with somebody that you had known and been with for 15, 16 years of your life. And regardless of how abusive that relationship was, my brain and my body craved the toxicity of it. And going and it was like coming off of this, sounds crazy, but coming off of this drug high, like, even though I knew what had happened was wrong, but my body still craved this emotional roller coaster. And I think that might be why a lot of people that are in these types of relationships, it's like it takes an average of 7 or 8 times to leave your abuser. And it's because we have this deep trauma connection with this person. And I don't necessarily understand all the ins and outs of how everything worked. But what I can tell you is when I went no contact with him, it was very difficult because he was somebody that's consistent in my life for a very long time. I would go 2 or 3 months and not talk to him. And then all of a sudden he would get in contact with me, and then I would talk to him for a day. And then I would go, and this was like about the first 7 months, some of us separating in our divorce. And then finally back in it all completely, I've had no contact with this guy, my ex-husband, since 2022 now. I know that he has like reached out to my now husband for certain things that regarded our taxes that we had together or vehicles or something like that. But I haven't spoken to him since 2022. It took probably a good 7 months there, to 7 months and this whole grief process within me to realize, okay, not everything that happened was my fault. The mental and physical and emotional abuse, that was not my fault. The way that he treated me, he chose to treat me that way. He had his own things to overcome and to deal with. And it was a good 7 or 8 months of like mental torture for me because I really was trying to not engage and to heal from this relationship that tore me to pieces. And at the same time, as bad as this may say, I had started this whole new relationship too. And a lot of people think that my husband now, like I got with him because he was safe. And with my husband now, when I met him, he was going through his own stuff. He had his things that he had happened, but he became a friend. And in the beginning, he was a sounding board for me. And he kind of opened my eyes to understand, hey, this is the type of relationship you are really in. This is really what's happening to you. This is not healthy. This is not the way women or anyone should be treated. And whether you want to go be with me or somebody else, you need to get out of this situation. And he was right. I did. And he helped me process the emotional trauma that came from all the abuse that I'd gone through. And finally at the end of it, I was able to break all of the trauma bonds, not just with the ex-husband, with everybody in my life that I had been trauma bonded to. And now every relationship that I do have is not based on some type of emotional trauma response. It is based on a mutual love and respect for each other. And that is what I hope that all people get the opportunity to have, is every relationship that you do have is healthy, it's happy, and it's based on a mutual love and respect for one another.